The spaceship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Its name was Celestial Harmony, and it carried people from Earth to an important meeting. Captain Mirai Kim stood on the bridge watching the screens in front of her. She was a small woman with dark eyes that missed nothing. When she walked into a room, everyone stood a little straighter. Mirai was 32 years old. She had worked hard to become a captain. On Earth, women had to fight for every opportunity. They had to prove themselves again and again. Mirai had done that. Now she commanded a ship full of Earth's best women, scientists, diplomats, officers, all heading to a meeting that could change everything for humanity. Lieutenant Ji-hyun Park sat at the controls. She was young but skilled. Her hands moved across the buttons with confidence. She looked up at Mirai and spoke clearly. "Captain, we will reach the meeting place in 4 hours." Mirai nodded. Her fingers tapped on the arm of her chair. This meeting was important. Very important. For 3 years, Earth had been trying to join the Galactic Confederation. This group included hundreds of alien species from across the galaxy. If Earth could join, humans would have access to new technology, new trade partners, new worlds. The future looked bright, but not everyone wanted Earth to join. Some alien species thought humans were too young, too violent, too primitive. They spoke against Earth in the Confederation meetings. They tried to block Earth's membership. Mirai knew this. Everyone on the ship knew this. But they believed in their mission. Suddenly, Ensign Hyejin Choi called out from her station. Her voice was tight with fear. "Captain, ships are appearing around us. Many ships." Mirai's blood turned cold. She stood up fast. "Battle stations. Raise the shields." The crew moved quickly. Alarms started ringing. Red lights flashed. But it was too late. The attacking ships had surrounded them perfectly. Mirai looked at the symbols on the enemy ships. Her heart sank. These were Velkrath ships. The Velkrath Dominion was known across the galaxy. They captured other species and made them slaves. They conquered weak civilizations. And they hated the idea of Earth joining the Confederation. They had spoken the loudest against it. A bright beam of energy hit the Harmony. The ship shook hard. People fell to the floor. Mirai held onto her chair and shouted orders. But she knew the truth. The Harmony was a diplomatic ship. It had some weapons, but not many. It was built for speed and comfort, not fighting. Against this many Velkrath warships, they had no chance. "The hull is broken in 2 places. Ji-hyun shouted over the noise of the alarms. "Shields are failing." Through the window, Miri watched the enemy ships move closer. They moved like hunters circling prey. This was not a random attack. This was planned. Someone wanted to stop Earth from reaching the meeting. Someone wanted to send a message. "Captain, they are calling us," said the communications officer. "Put it on the screen," Mirai ordered. A face appeared on the screen. It was covered in scales. The eyes were cold and cruel. This was Commander Vekthar. Mirai had seen his picture in intelligence reports. He was a Velkrath warlord. Even among his own violent people, he was known for being brutal and merciless. Vekthar's mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile on his species. "Human ship. You will surrender now. Your presence here is unwelcome. You will be an example of what happens to primitives who try to reach beyond their place." Mirai stood tall. Her voice was hard as steel. "We are a diplomatic mission. The Confederation protects us. This attack breaks the law. You cannot—" Vekthar interrupted her with a harsh laugh. "The Confederation will do nothing. They do not care about one small ship. Especially not a ship full of females." He said the word like it was an insult. In our culture, females are property. They are not leaders. They are not warriors. We will teach your species this truth. The screen went black. Another blast hit the ship. The Harmony shook violently. Lights flickered. "Shields are gone." Hyejin's voice cracked. She was scared, but she stayed at her station. Mirai made her decision in a second. She knew they could not win this fight. But she could make sure the truth got out. She could make sure everyone knew what happened here. "Ji-hyun, activate emergency protocol Sigma-7. Send our black box recording on all frequencies. Maximum range. I want every ship, every station, every planet to receive it. Everyone needs to know what the Velkrath did here today." "Yes, Captain." Sending now, the message went out into space. It carried everything. The attack. Vekthar's words. The truth. It would reach Earth. It would reach the Confederation. It would reach everyone. Metal pods shot from the Velcrath ships. They slammed into the Harmony's hull like bullets. These were boarding pods. They would cut through the walls and release enemy soldiers inside. The Velcrath were coming to take prisoners, to make them slaves. To prove their point about females being weak, Mirai pulled out her weapon. It was a sleek plasma pistol made on Earth. She checked the charge. Full. She looked around at her bridge crew. These women had trained together. They had become friends. They trusted each other with their lives. Listen to me, Mirai said. Her voice was calm now, strong. Remember your training. Remember Earth, remember why we are here. And remember this one thing above all else. We do not surrender. We do not go quietly into the dark. If this is our last fight, we make it count. The bridge doors exploded. Metal flew through the air. Smoke filled the room. Through the smoke came the Velcrath soldiers, big armed with heavy weapons. They expected the humans to be cowering in fear. They expected easy prey. They were wrong. Mirai fired first. Her shot took down the lead soldier. Ji-hyun fired from her position. Heejin threw a grenade. The battle was short and brutal. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought with everything they had. They fought for their ship, for their mission, for Earth, for every woman who had ever been told she was less than a man. In the end, the Velcrath won, but it cost them. They lost many soldiers. The humans made them pay for every meter of the ship. And when it was finally over, when the shooting stopped and the smoke cleared, the Velcrath stood among bodies of humans who had refused to surrender. Commander Vekthar walked through the wreckage of the Harmony's bridge. He looked at the fallen humans. He expected to feel satisfaction, victory. But something felt wrong. These were supposed to be weak females, property. Why had they fought so hard? Why had they refused to surrender? He did not know that the message had already been sent. He did not know that his words and actions were being broadcast across the galaxy. He did not know that on Earth millions of women were watching, listening, and getting angry. Very, very angry. 3 days passed. On Earth in the city of Seoul, Admiral Nari Han sat in her office. She was 54 years old. Her hair was more gray than black now, but her mind was still sharp. Her eyes still saw everything. She had been in the military for 36 years. She had worked hard to climb the ranks. Being a woman in the military had not been easy. Many men did not want women in leadership, but Nari had proved herself again and again. She had earned every promotion through skill, intelligence, and determination. Now she sat at her desk staring at a screen. The message from the Celestial Harmony played in front of her. She had watched it 3 times already. Each time made her angrier. She could hear Mirai's voice. She could hear Vekthar's cruel words. She could hear the sounds of battle. Then silence. Terrible silence. 37 people had been on that ship. All women. Diplomats, scientists, officers. The best Earth had to offer. And now they were gone. Killed because some alien warlord thought women were property. Killed because they dared to be leaders. Killed because they were seen as weak. Nari's hands shook with anger. She clenched them into fists. She had known some of those women personally. Mirai had been a friend, a good captain, a brilliant officer. Now she was dead. They were all dead. The door to her office opened. Commander Borisong entered. She did not knock. After 8 years working together, she knew when the Admiral needed her. Bora was young, only 30, but she was smart and capable. She had seen the message too. Admiral, the Security Council is meeting in 1 hour. They want your recommendation on how to respond. Nari looked up at her. Her voice was cold. Dangerous. My recommendation? War. We go to war. Bora had expected this. She did not look surprised, but she had to present the other side. Ma'am, the Confederation is telling us to show restraint. They say one incident should not start a war. They say we should seek diplomatic solutions. The Confederation. Nari stood up. Her voice was hard. The Confederation watched as our people were murdered. They did nothing. They said nothing. They want restraint because they are cowards. They have never faced an enemy who judged them for their gender. They have never been told they are property. She walked to a large screen on the wall. It showed a map of the galaxy. She pointed to a region marked in red. The Velcrath Dominion, 12 major planets, 40 colonies, a military force that had conquered 17 different species in the last 100 years. They were strong, powerful, feared. They called our people property. Nari said quietly. They killed them for being women, for daring to lead, for refusing to bow down. Bora stepped closer. Admiral, if we go to war with the Velcrat— When? Nari corrected. When we go to war, Bora nodded. When we go to war, we will be alone. The Confederation has made it clear. They will not support military action. We will have no allies. Then we fight alone. Nari turned to face her aide. Do you know what the Velcrath's biggest mistake was, Commander? Bora shook her head. They judged us by their own culture. In their society, females are weak. They are property. They have no power. So the Velcrath assumed human women are the same. But they do not understand our history. They do not know that human women spent thousands of years fighting for equality, fighting against men who tried to control us, fighting in wars, fighting for the right to vote, fighting for the right to work, fighting for the right to lead. We earned our freedom through blood and determination. We are not weak. We are warriors who have been tested for generations. She pulled up files on her screen. Names and faces appeared. Get me Colonel Xiaoyan Zhang. Get me Commander Yunji Quan. Get me Major Yuna Xin. Tell them to prepare the 7th Fleet for immediate deployment, and make it clear that this is voluntary. Every woman in Earth's military should know that she has the opportunity to make the Velcrath pay for their crime. Bora's eyes went wide. An all-female strike force? Not just female. The best. I want veterans. I want specialists. I want pilots who can fly through a needle. I want soldiers who can fight in their sleep. I want the Velcrath to see exactly what human women are capable of when someone murders their sisters. What about the Council? Will they approve this? Nari smiled. It was not a kind smile. The Council will approve it, because if they do not, I will resign, and I will lead this mission as a civilian, and 30,000 angry women will follow me into battle anyway. The Council knows this. They will approve. 1 hour later, Nari stood before the Earth Security Council. The room was large. Important people from every nation sat around a circular table. On the screens behind her, the message from the Harmony played again. Vectar's words echoed through the chamber. The sounds of battle, the silence that followed. When it finished, the room was quiet. Very quiet. The council president spoke first. His voice was shaken. Admiral Han, this is a tragedy, a terrible crime. But we must consider the consequences of military action. The Velcrath Dominion is powerful. They have allies. If we attack them, they attacked us first, Nari said firmly. They murdered 37 of our people. They did it because those people were women. They did it to send a message. Well, I propose we send a message back. A clear message. A message written in fire and steel. Another council member spoke up. But the Confederation wants us to seek peace. The Confederation, Nari interrupted, stood by and watched as our people died. They did nothing. They said nothing. They want peace because they are comfortable. They want us to be quiet, to be obedient, to accept this massacre and move on. I say no. I say we show the galaxy that Earth does not forgive this kind of crime. That human women are not victims to be pitied. We are warriors to be feared. She looked around the table. I am asking for authorization to launch Operation Valkyrie, an all-volunteer strike force. Women who want to avenge their fallen sisters. We will hit the Velcrath hard. We will hit them fast. And we will make sure every species in the galaxy knows what happens when you murder human women. The debate that followed was intense. Some council members worried about the cost, about the risk, about starting a war Earth might not win. But as they talked, messages started coming in from around the world. Women volunteering for the mission. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Pilots, soldiers, engineers, doctors, all wanting to be part of the response. The vote came 2 hours later. It was unanimous. Operation Valkyrie was approved. Earth was going to war. After the meeting, Bora found Nari in her office. The Admiral was looking at pictures of the Harmony's crew. 37 faces, 37 women who would never come home. Admiral, the orders have been sent. Colonel Seoyon is assembling the 7th Fleet. Commander Yunji is planning the attack. Major Yuna is selecting the special operations teams. We have more volunteers than we can use. Nari nodded slowly. She touched the screen, her finger resting on Mirai's picture. Good. The Velcrath think they taught us a lesson. They think they showed us our place. But they made a mistake. They woke up something they do not understand. Human women are not like Velcrath females. We have fought too hard and too long to accept anyone telling us we are less. And now they will learn what happens when you threaten what we have built. She turned to face Bora. Tell the fleet commanders, we leave in 1 week, and when we arrive at Velkrath Prime, we will show them that Earth's women are not property. We are not weak. We are the storm they should have feared. Across Earth, in military bases and training facilities, women prepared for war. They checked their weapons. They ran simulations. They trained. And they remembered the 37 women who had died in the cold of space. They remembered Vekthar's words. They remembered the disrespect, the cruelty, the contempt, and they promised themselves that the Velkrath would regret ever hearing the name Earth. Colonel Seoyeon walked through the hangar of the warship Retribution. It was the newest and most powerful ship in Earth's fleet. Around her, women in combat uniforms worked quickly. They checked weapons. They loaded supplies. They ran tests on fighters and dropships. Everyone moved with purpose. Everyone knew what they were about to do. 3,000 women had volunteered in the first hour after the call went out. Admiral Narihan had chosen the best of the best. Veteran pilots, expert soldiers, women who had proved themselves in combat. Women who wanted revenge for their fallen sisters. Soyeon was 40 years old. She had been in the military since she was 18. She had fought in 3 wars. She had earned her rank through skill and bravery. Now she commanded the strike force that would attack the Velkrath homeworld. It was the biggest responsibility of her life. She stopped near a group of fighter pilots. They were doing a final briefing. Lieutenant Sora Lee looked up when Seoyeon approached. Sora was one of Earth's top pilots. She could fly a fighter through impossible spaces at incredible speeds. She had shot down more enemy ships than almost anyone else in the fleet. Colonel. Sora saluted. We are ready, ma'am. How are the new pilots handling the pressure? Seoyeon asked. Sora smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone looking forward to a fight. They are angry, ma'am. Motivated. Half of them knew someone on the Harmony. They want to make the Velkrath pay. We all do. Good. Seoyeon's face was hard. Because we are going to do more than make them pay. We are going to teach the entire galaxy a lesson. A lesson about what happens when you underestimate human women. She continued walking through the ship. She wanted to see everything, to talk to as many women as possible, to make sure everyone was ready. This mission had to work. There was no backup plan, no second chance. Finally, she reached the planning room. Commander Yoonji Kwon and Major Yuna Shin were already there. They stood in front of a large holographic display. It showed the Velkrath star system in 3 dimensions, their planets, their space stations, their fleet positions. Yoonji was 35. She was a tactical genius. She could look at a battlefield and see patterns others missed. She could predict what the enemy would do before they did it. She had planned this entire operation. Yuna was smaller and younger, only 28. But she was dangerous. She specialized in unusual warfare, in attacking from unexpected angles, in using the enemy's own strengths against them. She had trained some of Earth's best special forces teams. Colonel, Yoonji greeted her. We have finalized the battle plan. Let me show you. The hologram changed. It focused on one planet, Velkrath Prime, the capital world of the Dominion. This is our target, Yoonji explained. It is heavily defended. 3 orbital defense platforms. Each platform has enough firepower to destroy a fleet, plus 80 warships patrolling the space around the planet. Conventional military strategy says we would need 5 times their numbers to win. Maybe more. Good thing we are not conventional, Yuna said with a dangerous smile. We will use their greatest weakness against them. Their arrogance, Seoyeon said. She understood immediately. Exactly. Yuna pointed to the hologram. They think women are weak. They think we are not real warriors. This is how we win. We make them believe what they want to believe. Then we hit them when they are not looking. Yoonji expanded the display. Phase 1. We send a small ship. It will look like a diplomatic vessel. Just like the Harmony. We will transmit messages asking to negotiate, asking for peace talks. The Velkrath will think we are scared, that we came to surrender. While their attention is on this decoy ship, our special forces teams will approach the defense platforms in stealth. They will never expect a team of women to attack their platforms, Una added. They will think we are coming to talk, to beg, to ask them to spare us. So they will not be watching carefully. They will not see our teams until it is too late. Phase 2, Yunji continued. Once our teams capture the defense platforms, we bring them offline. Then the main fleet arrives. We drop out of hyperspace right on top of their patrol fleet. Before they can react, we engage. Our fighters are faster than theirs. Our weapons are more accurate, and our people are fighting for something they believe in. We will destroy their fleet. Phase 3, Una said. While the space battle happens, Marine teams will land on the surface. We will secure the capital city. We will find and capture their leadership, especially Commander Vecthar. Seoyeon looked at the display carefully. The plan was bold. Maybe too bold. But it might work. The Velcroth would never expect such an aggressive attack. They would never believe human women could coordinate something this complex. What about casualties, she asked. What is the projection? Yunji's face became serious. If everything goes perfectly, we lose maybe 10% of our forces. If things go wrong, we could lose 50% or more. This is a dangerous mission, Colonel. Everyone knows that. And everyone still volunteered, Seoyeon said quietly. They all know the risks. They all want to be here anyway. They want justice, Una said. For Mirai, for Jihyun, for Hyejin, for all 37 women who died on the Harmony. Seoyeon nodded. Tell me about Commander Vecthar. Where will he be? Una pulled up new information on the screen. Our intelligence says he is on Velcroth Prime. He is probably in the military headquarters in their capital city. I have assigned a special team to find him. They will bring him back alive. Why alive? Seoyeon asked. Because Admiral Nari wants the galaxy to see him on trial. She wants everyone to watch as we prove what he did. She wants his punishment to be public. So other species will think twice before attacking human women again. Seoyeon looked at the hologram one more time. Somewhere down on that planet, Vecthar was going about his day. He probably felt proud of himself. Proud of killing the Harmony's crew. Proud of showing humanity its place. He had no idea what was coming.
How long until we reach Velcroth space? Yunji asked. 72 hours, Yunji replied. 3 days. Then we have 3 days to make sure everything is perfect. I want every team to run through their part of the mission at least 5 more times.
I want 0 mistakes, 0 surprises. We get 1 chance at this. 1 chance to show the galaxy who we are. 1 chance to get justice for our sisters. Yes, Colonel, both women said together. As Yunji and Una left to brief their teams, Seoyeon stood alone in the planning room. She stared at the hologram of Velcroth Prime. She thought about Mirai. They had been friends. They had trained together at the academy. They had served on the same ship early in their careers. Mirai had been at Seoyeon's wedding. Seoyeon had been there when Mirai made captain. Now Mirai was gone, dead in the cold of space, killed by an enemy who thought women were not worth respecting. Seoyeon's hands clenched into fists. I am coming for you, Vecthar, she whispered to the hologram. And when I find you, you will learn what human women are really capable of. You will learn that we are not property. We are not weak. We are the ones you should have feared from the beginning. Over the next 3 days, the fleet prepared. Pilots practiced attack runs. Marines rehearsed their assault plans. Special Forces teams studied the layouts of the defense platforms. Engineers checked every system on every ship. Doctors prepared medical bays for casualties. Everyone had a job. Everyone knew their role, and everyone remembered why they were here. For the Harmony. For the 37 women who had died. For every woman throughout history who had been told she was less than a man. For every woman who had fought for equality and respect. This was not just a military mission. This was a statement. This was Earth's women telling the galaxy that they would not be victims, that they would not accept disrespect, that they would fight back with everything they had. On the 3rd day, the fleet jumped to hyperspace. They were on their way to Velcroth Prime. The storm was coming, and the Velcroth had no idea. The Battle of Velkrath Prime began early in the morning, station time. The decoy ship approached the planet slowly. It looked exactly like a diplomatic vessel, small, unarmed, harmless. It transmitted messages on all frequencies, messages asking for peace talks, messages saying Earth wanted to negotiate. The Velkrath barely looked at it. Why would they worry? These were humans, weak humans, female humans coming to beg for mercy, coming to surrender. The Velkrath guards at the defense platforms laughed when they received the docking request. Females wanting to talk. How pathetic. The decoy ship docked at Platform Alpha. A group of women emerged. They wore formal diplomatic clothing. They carried sealed cases. They looked nervous and scared. Exactly what the Velkrath expected. The Velkrath guards sneered at them. Look at these weak creatures, coming with papers and proposals, probably hoping to negotiate for the return of their dead. The guards did not even search the cases properly. Why bother? What could females possibly hide that would be dangerous? The cases opened. Inside were compact plasma rifles, military grade, loaded and ready. Major Yuna Shin led the assault. Her team moved with perfect precision. They had trained for weeks for this exact moment. Every woman knew her target. Every woman knew her path through the station. They moved like lightning through the corridors. The Velkrath guards did not even have time to sound the alarm before they went down. Control room secured. Yuna reported into her radio, taking the platform offline now. Good work, Valkyrie 7, came Colonel Seoyan's voice from the flagship. All units, begin Phase 2, space ripped open. The Earth fleet emerged from hyperspace. 50 warships appeared at once. They were in perfect formation. Each ship bristling with weapons. Each ship crewed by women who had volunteered for this mission. Women who wanted revenge. The Velkrath fleet scrambled. Alarms rang out across their ships. How had humans gotten so close? How had they bypassed the defense platforms? The Velkrath commanders shouted orders. Their ships tried to form defensive positions. Too slow. Too late. Lieutenant Sora Lee dove her fighter through a gap in the Velkrath formation. Her 3 wingmates followed perfectly. Human fighters were smaller than Velkrath ships. More agile. The Velkrath had always mocked them. Called them toys. Called them fragile. Those toys cut through Velkrath capital ships like knives through paper. Focus on their bridges, Sora called to her squadron. Make it personal. Make them remember every woman they ever disrespected. Plasma weapons fired. Missiles launched. Human fighters danced through enemy fire. They were too fast, too skilled. The Velkrath could not track them. Could not hit them. But the humans never missed. Velkrath warships exploded, one after another. Brilliant flowers of fire and debris in the darkness of space. For every human ship that took damage, 3 Velkrath vessels went dark. On the bridge of the Retribution, Commander Yoonji Kwon coordinated the attack. She watched dozens of screens at once. She tracked every ship, every squadron, every team. Her voice was calm and clear as she gave orders. Marine teams, you are cleared for planetary descent. Take the capital. Keep civilian casualties minimal. But anyone who fights with Vecthar is a legitimate target. Show no mercy to those who showed none to the Harmony. Drop pods fell from the fleet like rain, hundreds of them. Each one carrying 10 Marines. They burned through the atmosphere. The Velkrath surface defenses fired at them. Some pods were hit, but most made it through. They slammed into the ground across the capital city. The pods opened. Human Marines poured out. They wore powered armor. They carried heavy weapons. And they moved with purpose. Every Marine had seen the recording from the Harmony. Every Marine knew what they were fighting for. Captain Jiwon Bayek led the first wave into the streets. The city was chaos. Velkrath military running to defensive positions. Civilians fleeing. Emergency sirens wailing. But the humans were organized, focused. They moved in perfect formation, securing buildings, neutralizing military targets. Jiwon's team approached a military command bunker. The door was reinforced steel. She planted a breaching charge and stepped back. This is for Captain Mirai Kim, she whispered. For Lieutenant Ji-Yun Park, for Ensign Hyejin Choi, for all 37. The charge exploded. The door flew inward. Jiwon and her team rushed inside. The Velkrath soldiers inside raised their weapons. They fired, but the human armor was strong. The humans were faster, more accurate. The Velkrath went down in seconds. The battle raged for 6 hours. In space, the Velkrath fleet was destroyed. Nearly 80 warships turned into wreckage. The 3 orbital platforms were in human hands. On the ground, the capital city was secured. Velkrath military units surrendered one by one. Some tried to fight to the end. They died. Major Yuna Shin personally led the team that found Commander Vekthar. He was in a bunker beneath the military headquarters, trying to escape through underground tunnels. Yuna's team caught him before he could reach his transport. When they dragged him back to the surface, he looked smaller than in his broadcasts. His scales were dull. His eyes showed fear for the first time in his life. Around him, his capital city burned. His fleet was destroyed. His defenses shattered, all done by the weak females he had mocked. Admiral Nari Han arrived on the surface an hour later. She had come from Earth specifically for this moment. She walked into the captured military headquarters. Her uniform was perfect. Her bearing was strong. She looked like what she was, a warrior who had just won a major victory. Vekthar stood in chains before her. Around them, cameras from news agencies across the galaxy recorded everything. This moment was being broadcast live to billions of viewers. Every species in the Confederation was watching. Nari looked at Vekthar. She did not speak at first. She just looked at him, let him feel the weight of what had happened, let him understand that he had started something he could not finish. Finally, she spoke. Her voice carried across the room and across the galaxy. You called our people property. You murdered 37 of our finest women. You did it because you believed females are weak. Because you believed we would not fight back. Vekthar said nothing. What could he say? His fleet was gone. His planet was occupied. His people were defeated. Let this be a lesson, Nari continued, looking into the cameras, speaking to the galaxy. Human women have fought for thousands of years to be equals. We have earned our place through blood and determination. We are warriors. We are leaders. We are scientists and explorers. And when you attack us, we hit back 100 times harder. She stepped closer to Vekthar, close enough that he could see the anger in her eyes, the cold fury of someone who had lost friends and now had justice. You wanted to teach us a lesson about our place. Instead, you learned a lesson about underestimating women. This is what happens when you judge us by your own broken culture. This is what happens when you think being female means being weak. Vekthar finally spoke. His voice was weak, broken. The Confederation will never allow this. They will... The Confederation, Nari interrupted, has already condemned your actions. They watched the recording from the Harmony. They saw you murder innocent diplomats. They heard you call women property. The Confederation has revoked your membership. Your dominion is dissolved. Your people will be governed by a neutral council until they prove they can behave like civilized beings. She turned back to the cameras. And you, Commander Vekthar, will stand trial for war crimes, for piracy, for the murder of 37 humans. The trial will be public. Every species will watch. Everyone will see what happens when you make the mistake of attacking Earth's women. Vekthar was dragged away. The cameras kept rolling. News agencies across the galaxy were already spreading the story. The mighty Velkrath Dominion conquered in 6 hours, defeated by an all-female strike force from Earth, the species everyone had called primitive. In command centers and government buildings across 100 worlds, alien leaders watched in shock. Some were impressed. Some were frightened. All of them were thinking the same thing. Do not make Earth angry. Especially do not make Earth's women angry. On the Retribution, Colonel Seoyon stood on the bridge. She watched the planet below. Velkrath Prime conquered, secured, justice delivered. She thought about Mirai, about the last time they had talked, about how Mirai had been excited for the diplomatic mission, how she had believed it would change everything for Earth. She had been right. It had changed everything, just not in the way anyone expected. Rest easy, Mirai, Seoyon whispered. We got them. We got justice. And the galaxy will never forget what happened here today. 3 months passed. The Galactic Confederation chamber was more crowded than usual. Representatives from 200 different species filled every seat. Some stood in the back because there was no more room. Everyone wanted to be there for this moment. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Admiral Nari Han stood at the central podium. She wore her dress uniform. The medals on her chest were new. Medals for the Battle of Velkrath Prime, medals for bravery, medals for changing the course of galactic history. She looked calm and confident. Behind her, a delegation of women from the 7th Fleet stood at attention. They all wore their uniforms with pride. The Confederation president was an ancient Dralith. His species lived for hundreds of years. He had 4 eyes and wore ceremonial robes covered in symbols of his office. He looked at Nari with respect, and maybe a little fear. "Admiral Han," he began formally. "On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, we extend our deepest apologies. We failed to protect the crew of the Celestial Harmony. We should have acted sooner. We should have done more." He paused. "We also congratulate you on your decisive victory against the Velcrath Dominion. Your tactics were brilliant. Your execution was flawless. You have demonstrated that humanity possesses both military capability and moral courage." Nari nodded once. "The apology is noted. The victory was necessary." "The Confederation has reviewed Earth's application for membership," the president continued. "In light of recent events, we are prepared to accept Earth as a full member. With all the rights and privileges that come with conditions," Nari interrupted. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Species did not interrupt the president. It was considered extremely rude. But Nari did not care about their rules. Not anymore. Earth had earned the right to speak. The president's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Conditions?" "Yes." Nari's voice was clear and strong. It reached every corner of the massive chamber. "Earth will join the Confederation, but only if you adopt the following changes to your laws." She held up one finger. "First, any member species that practices slavery will be immediately expelled. This includes sex-based slavery, forced labor, and any system where sentient beings are treated as property. No exceptions." Some representatives started protesting. Nari ignored them and continued. "Second, any attack on diplomatic vessels will be treated as an act of war. The full military might of the Confederation will respond. Immediately. No debates, no delays. Diplomats must be protected at all costs." More protests. Nari raised her voice. "Third, gender discrimination in any form will be grounds for sanctions. Species that treat females as property or deny them equal rights will face economic and political consequences. You will either change or you will be excluded from Confederation benefits." The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted, some in agreement, many in protest. The noise was incredible. The president raised several tentacles for silence. It took a full minute for the room to quiet down. "Admiral Han," the president said carefully, "these demands would require major changes to Confederation law. Changes that have never been made before. Changes that some species will strongly oppose." "Then change the law," Nari said flatly. "Or Earth will enforce these principles ourselves. The Battle of Velcrath Prime was a demonstration. We wanted to show you what we can do. But that was only the 7th Fleet. Earth has 12 more fleets just like it. We can project military power across 200 light years. And we are willing to use that power to protect innocent beings." She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. "You called us primitives, lesser beings. You watched as the Velcrath murdered our people, and you did nothing. Well, those primitives just conquered a species that had been a Confederation member for 300 years. We did it in 6 hours. What does that say about the strength of your Confederation?" Silence fell. Nobody had an answer to that. "We are not begging to join your organization," Nari continued. "We are demanding that you be better, that you stand for real principles, that you protect the weak instead of looking the other way, that you enforce justice instead of politics." She paused. Let her words sink in. "And if you cannot do that, then Earth will form its own alliance, an alliance of species who believe in equality and justice, an alliance built on actual principles, not just trade agreements and political convenience. Many species have already contacted us privately. They are interested. They are tired of the Confederation's weakness. They want something better." The president's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. He was thinking, calculating. The truth was obvious to everyone in the room. Earth had just demonstrated incredible military power. If they formed a rival alliance, many species would join. The Confederation could split, could collapse. This is unprecedented, the president said finally. So was destroying the Velkreth Dominion in 6 hours, Nari replied. Humanity specializes in doing things that have never been done before. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then slowly some representatives began to signal their approval. Not all of them. Some species clearly did not like these new rules. But enough agreed. Enough understood that the galaxy was changing, that Earth had forced that change, and that it was better to adapt than to resist. The president spoke again. His voice was grave. Serious. The Confederation Council will debate your proposals, Admiral Han, but I believe they will be adopted. You have shown us that there are consequences for inaction, that there are worse things than changing our ways, such as facing an angry Earth fleet. A few representatives actually laughed at that. Nervous laughter, but laughter nonetheless. Nari allowed herself a small smile. Wisdom at last. 6 weeks later, the reforms passed. The vote was not unanimous. Some species voted against them, some abstained, but enough voted yes. The Confederation Charter was amended. Slavery was outlawed throughout Confederation space. Diplomatic vessels were granted sacred protection. Anyone who harmed a diplomat would face the full military response of all member species. Gender-based discrimination became grounds for expulsion. The galaxy had changed. And it had changed because of what happened to 37 women on a ship called the Celestial Harmony. News of the changes spread quickly. In academies across the galaxy, new lessons were added to the curriculum. In military training centers, instructors taught new rules of engagement. In diplomatic schools, students learned about what had become known as the Harmony Incident. And everywhere, on every world, in every language, a new rule was taught. An unofficial rule, but one that everyone understood. Rule number 1. Do not cross Earth's women. The Velkreth Dominion had tested this rule. They had paid for it with their fleet, their capital, and their freedom. No other species was eager to repeat the experiment. On Earth, in a memorial garden in Seoul, 37 names were carved into black stone. Captain Mirai Kim, Lieutenant Ji-hyun Park, Ensign Hee-jin Choi, and 34 others. Women who had gone into space to build a better future. Women who had died for no reason except prejudice and hate. Admiral Nari Han stood before the memorial. It was a clear day. The sun was shining. Behind her, hundreds of women from the 7th Fleet stood in formation. They wore their dress uniforms. Their medals caught the light. Nari placed her hand on the cool stone. She felt the carved letters under her palm. They told you that you were property, she said softly. They told you that you were weak. They judged you by their own broken standards. They were wrong. You were the spark that lit a fire across the galaxy. You were the reason everything changed. She straightened, saluted the memorial. Behind her, 3,000 women saluted as well. The gesture was crisp, perfect, respectful. Rest easy, Mirai, Nari said. Rest easy, all of you. The galaxy knows better now. They know what happens when they underestimate human women. And if they ever forget, we will be ready to remind them. We will always be ready. The wind carried her words across the garden, past the memorial, out toward the city, up to the sky, up to the stars where the Harmony had made its last stand. Somewhere in the void between worlds, the wreckage of the Celestial Harmony still drifted. It would drift forever. A monument to courage. A warning to anyone who might think about attacking humans. A reminder that Earth's women had fought too hard and too long to accept anyone telling them they were less. In the years that followed, the galaxy became a better place. Slavery was abolished on dozens of worlds. Women gained rights in societies that had oppressed them for centuries. Diplomats traveled safely, knowing they were protected by the full power of the Confederation. And when young beings asked why these changes happened, their teachers told them the story. The story of 37 human women who died. The story of how their sisters responded. The story of the Battle of Velkreth Prime. The story of how Earth changed the galaxy. The story always ended the same way, with a simple lesson. A rule that everyone learned. Do not cross Earth's women. They fought for thousands of years to be equals. They earned their place through blood and determination. And if you make the mistake of threatening them, of judging them, of underestimating them, they will teach you a lesson you will never forget. The Velcrath learned this lesson. They paid for it with everything they had. And the galaxy made sure to remember, made sure that no other species would make the same mistake.